Let's go to the big story over the weekend. Of course, was Ralph Northam, and I am really well. I'll give my opinion on the substance of the story. I also think it's sort of interesting that this did not come out until he had these what were considered controversial statements about abortion in Virginia. Now, it's weird to me that this stuff hadn't come out when he ran. It's weird to me that you have a yearbook for medical school where you take pictures. Like, I mean, I get it why people do this in high school.
Have a good summer.
Who's got time for this in college?
And I feel, well, this is not college.
Medical school, dude.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, in college,
it's even more extreme.
Listen, I went to a small school in college, and I'm pretty sure we had a yearbook. And I remember thinking at the time, this is corny. But, you know, it's your college years. But in medical school, it gets pretty corny. And, of course, it turns out that in Ralph's Northam's yearbook in Eastern Virginia Medical School, and my understanding is that that's the old school Virginia, that area. There is a picture on his yearbook page of him sitting by a Camaro or some type of like cruising car. And then, of course, he's got the obligatory hat and outfit. And then, of course, there's also the obligatory picture of a man in blackface and a man in a full-on KKK outfit, presumably going to a party of some sort. I don't know, some type of get-up. Now, Northam it's come out, and his defense was that's not me. That picture somehow landed on my yearbook page, and it was somebody else. And he determined this. He first came out and said it was him. Then he said he called around to friends to see if it was him, and people had different stories, but none of them said it was him.
Did he keep a calendar by chance?
He doesn't have a calendar. He does like beer.
Storied shaggy defense.
But here he is. Here is his. This is the. Well, okay. He said, "I know that was not me in the blackface, because I did put on blackface one time to do an impression of Michael Jackson, doing a moonwalk." And here's a guy who. Well, you really get the sense that he's a little bit lost in all this. Well, look at this clip.
You said that the competition in San Antonio was a dance competition?
Yes.
And it was that you danced the moonwalk?
That's right.
Are you still able to moonwalk?
Inappropriate circumstances.
My wife says inappropriate circumstances.
Okay, so he looks around to see if there's room for him to do the moonwalk. And his wife just has to go like, "Hey, dude, are you some type of effing idiot?"
Well, now there's an even bigger problem with Ralph Northam. He's a cuck.
I mean, that is
totally dominated.
That is pretty. This guy's completely like he doesn't quite get it. Now,
Billie Jean is.
Here is another question they asked him. It turns out that his nickname, at least as written in the yearbook, was Coon Man.
This was written in the yearbook?
Something like that.
Jesus Christ.
Yesterday evening was the first time I saw this photo. It was shocking, and it was horrific.
How do you account for one of your nicknames that's listed in the VMI yearbook in 1981, Coon Man? What's your explanation for that?
My main nickname in high school and in college was Goose, because when my voice was changing, I would change an octave. There were two individuals, as best I can recollect, at VMI. They were a year ahead of me that called me Coon Man. I don't know their motives or intent. I know who they are, but that was the extent of that, and it ended up in the yearbook, and I regret that.
Yeah, I bet you do. Now, here's the thing I don't understand. Like, is this the first time he's seen his yearbook?
He should have gone on offense. He should have been like, one time I was mocked.
I mean, I think like this is the thing that I understand about this, and I think this is important, because on the right, there's a whole mechanism for this. That is, I have since I found Jesus and forgive me, and this fits into a whole different thing. But on the left, and obviously, I don't think Ralph Northam is, he's not a member of DSA, but on the left, in terms of Democrats, there is no mechanism for this. There is no like, I'm sorry or this and that, and I think the problem here. I don't think the problem is that he wore that stuff 25 years ago. Because I don't think he has a history since then of anything that would in any way implicate those feelings. It's quite possible to me that 25 years ago in Virginia, there was no sensitivity to dressing up that way. Right? Like, one guy's got
probably still no sensitivity to that in parts of Virginia today.
Well, that's probably true too. But I'm saying amongst people who would now have more sensitivity to it.
That's
okay.
Right.
And so, and
I have an
but
idealistic
I think the
question.
bottom line is that you got to come out and look at this stuff. And if you're going to be a public figure, you've got to own up to it and apologize for it, or at the very least, explain it, contextualize it before it becomes an issue. And then when you come out and deny it, because then it becomes a question of just sort of leadership. And if you want to be a governor of a state, then you're also saying, I want to be a leader. And if you want to be, and this is the case, I think too, with like, I want to be a famous blah, blah. The fact of the matter is that one of the things that come with fame is that people are going to scrutinize your life and your life decisions, and that's the way it is in this day and age. Just be lucky that you're not, a 14-year-old where every single thing you do is documented in a digital fashion and is going to be there forever, and you're going to have not even anything that isn't going to be something that you're going to have to own up to.
I have a question.
To be
I have
fair,
an idealistic question. Do you think if he was running for governor, and because I was thinking about this, like what? Because I think like, yeah, I think he doesn't have a record of these things. I don't think that every single, mistake or controversy should ruin somebody's career. But it occurred to me like I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know if this would have sunk it before he began. But if he came out when he was running for governor and was like, look,
of course
by the way, as a heads up, I did this stupid, disgusting, racist, embarrassing thing in college. And as part of my transparency with you, because I want to lead all of you.
100%. He should have done if he had done this.
Right move,
if he had
right?
done this during his campaign, or if he had done it at any point, and said, look, either apropos of what Ed Henry's doing, running, not Ed Henry, Ed Rollin, Gillespie is running, apropos of these ads, I want to say something. I don't think that you can that just because you had racist beliefs in one time, or you were acculturated in one way growing up in one fashion, that you can't go beyond that. Here's an example. I dressed up in blackface, or I took a picture with somebody who was dressed up in blackface, and it's on my page in the thing, and I took that picture, and at that time I thought, I'm just, it's a goof. Maybe it was a function of not, taking black people, seriously as other individuals, as humans, and I regret that now. And if he had said that, but he's not only is he off the hook in my mind, he's better for it.
Right. Agreed.
To be fair, he first ran for office in 2007, so that was a totally different time.
What do you mean?
Like, just blackface wasn't the same kind of liability that it is now.
Well, I'm saying if he had run for during his governor race.
That was my
That was
instinct,
a
that
joke.
if he had come out and said, and
Well,
done
look,
that.
2007, when was it when Ted Danson wore blackface to a roast for his girlfriend, Whoopi Goldberg?
It's a joke, but a lot of these things have changed a lot in the last 10 years.
It has. I mean, you're being
pretty
facetious.
sure we knew blackface was not okay in 2007.
I don't know when that happened with Ted Danson. And
Billy Crystal did a thing for New Orleans Katrina relief where he just did like a black guy accent for like 30 minutes. It was really weird.
I mean, the
Sounds interesting. I want to check that out.
The sensitivity to this stuff and the awareness of it, I think is a lot more recent than you would expect. And
He should have done it. He should have come out, and this should be a model, frankly. And because now, to me, it's like, I think he definitely needs to resign because of just how it's underlined a certain sense of disconnect and disrespect, which sort of, I think, inhibits his ability to govern because of how he's responded to it. Even just the thing we played, it's hilarious, but like, oh, I don't know, should I moonwalk? No, you shouldn't. You should not moonwalk during this press conference. You moron.
no, yeah, that's
No, you
just,
should
that's
not.
just like, that's not racist. That's just dumb.
No, well, no, but that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm not just
obliviousness.
implicating the racism here. I'm implicating the lack
Total
of
awareness, situational awareness.
Right.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I will say this. In 2000, I did a movie in which one of the characters I had put in blackface, and there was a thematic reason to do it at the time that I don't know that it worked. It was ostensibly to mock the concept of it, and it didn't work. It's not a choice I would make today for something like that. And the movie had other problems as well, and that's why I never officially released it. In the context of people who know my work, broadly speaking, I feel like they can interpret it. But if I was to put it out there publicly, I would be more concerned if that's the first thing that someone saw of my work. There would be too much opportunity, I think, of people misinterpreting it. So I wouldn't publish it in that manner. And I think that Northam could have said, like, look, this is not something I was trying to present to the world, or to the extent that I was to present to the community. People knew me and it contextualized, whatever. If he had offered some explanation of it, or had said, I feel bad about it, I apologize, I didn't know what I knew then, I think he wouldn't be in this type of mess. And I mean, and if it wasn't, like, I find it hard to believe he hadn't looked at his yearbook.
It's also an issue for the people who were supposed to be vetting him when he first got into politics, right?
Yeah, and his opponents.
Like, clearly,
his opponent. Ed Gillespie's like, he's going to go up 5 points
with
my base if this comes out.
Yeah, if anything, they were afraid of losing supporters to him for that.
Meanwhile,
I'll tell you what, I sure do like the nickname.
So part of the calculation, I think, and in terms of like calling for his resigning, I mean, to the extent that I would call for his resignation, it would be a function of just like, he's not handling it well.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, can we
That's
also...
what I'm saying. It's about not handling it
I don't think that you necessarily need to resign.
No.
Because there was a picture of you in blackface 25 years ago. I just think that he hasn't come out and dealt with it in a way that gives me any confidence one way or another about that he's either learned something from it, or that I just don't believe
even
the
really
story.
Gets it right now.
Can we also put this in context with the Klan robe, right? Because it's one thing to have like a culturally insensitive Halloween costume where you're trying to dress up like your favorite celebrity and realize you're doing blackface. The Klan robe makes it pretty hard to misinterpret there.
I agree, and I think he needs to explain all of that, and hasn't sufficiently. One of the things I think that has made it easier, and this may sound a little cynical, but I think it's the case. I think it was the case with Franken too, in a similar circumstance, that has made it easier for Democrats to come out and say resign immediately, because also there's another factor here, right? And that is party politics. One factor is social justice, and we're trying to change the culture. And that means that there's necessarily going to be people who pay maybe a disproportionate price than, we might want in a perfect world. That's going to happen with stuff in the Me Too thing and stuff like this. And there are going to be individuals who end up paying a certain percentage more than they probably should. I don't know how you quantify that, but that is nothing compared to the price that has been paid by those people who have been oppressed by these things. And that's the way it works with society. That's just the way it works. And it sucks that we don't have a magic wand and say, we're going to reverse the mistakes of history and no one's going to pay a price. Now, I'm not convinced the price being paid that much, but maybe it's slightly disproportionate. But the thing that made it easier, and then for the question, that's a social justice question, right? Then there is a party politics question. Does it behoove the Democratic Party to have a governor who has not been able to ably deal with this scandal? Okay? Putting aside what the scandal is, he has not been able to deal with this. If this is no big deal, he certainly hasn't been able to deal with it in a proper way. He could have been off on the Appalachians with his, his amore, and that would have been a different scandal. But this is the scandal he's in. He's not handling it well. So the calculation is it worth it trying to defend this guy, or do we jettison him? I think a lot of people learned a lot of lessons after Bill Clinton, frankly. I think there's still some of that. But people have been anticipating that the lieutenant governor in Virginia, a guy named Fairfax, I should say, Justin Fairfax, and there was one question about Northam. He did not include Justin Fairfax on his campaign material, and that was a little bit controversial because Fairfax is a black guy, and there was some controversy about that. Now, that's all I can tell you. I don't know enough of the details to understand, to put that in any other context. However, last night, Justin Fairfax put out a statement like at 3 a.m. I saw this building late night on Twitter, that in responding to a publication by Big League Politics, it's a right-wing website, first posted the photo of Northam's medical school yearbook page, that he was charged with or accused of having assaulted a woman at the 2004 DNC. And he wrote, now she seems, she's a professor. I think she was at the DNC, so I think she was at the time anyways a Democrat. In this statement released early Monday morning, Fairfax office said the Washington Post had already investigated the allegation, chose not to publish a story due to significant red flags and inconsistencies. Fairfax has an outstanding and well-earned reputation for treating people with dignity or respect. Read the statement. He has never assaulted anyone ever in any shape or form. He called the publication false and unsubstantiated against the lieutenant governor. The Post carefully investigated the claim for several months after being presented with the facts consistent with the governor's denial, lieutenant governor, the allegation, the absence of any evidence of corroborating the allegation, and significant red flags and inconsistencies within the allegation. The Post made the considered decision not to publish the story. So what we need now, I think, from the Washington Post is a report on that assessment. Because now that they've been implicated in this story, this is going to be this is going to be the next big question. Because Fairfax could not only assume the Virginia governor's office, but it would not be time that would count towards his term limit. So he could run for re-election and essentially serve almost 2 full terms. So this is a big deal. So keep your eyes on that.